We're talking about burnout.
Yes.
Have you ever experienced it?
I'm sure I have. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
In what
Molly?
period of your life do you think burnout?
I think that it happens in cycles.
Also, let's define burnout. What is burnout for you? Like, what does that entail?
Well, before I learned a little bit more about burning out, I thought of it as being exhausted with a combination of stress.
Mm-hmm.
I've come to learn they are two completely different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So stress is more
Emotional.
Like in spurts.
Yeah.
Like it's temporary, and burnout is like a lengthier. It's more of like an actual mood. So they are different.
Mm-hmm. Molly, have you ever experienced burnout?
I don't think I've experienced burnout itself. I do know that I've experienced stress in which I feel like exhaustion, tired, fatigue in that way. But I don't think I've ever experienced burnout where I am depressed. I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
feel
not
like,
depression.
No.
okay. But it can feel in a sense of long periods of time where you don't feel like you're compatible with wherever you are in your life, whether it's your workplace, relationship, whatever that might be. I don't necessarily feel like I've felt it here. I think I've done a lot of inner work personally from the start of the beginning of working here to make myself aware of how I'm feeling throughout each part of my day, month, year, or whatever. I know that I've experienced stress. I just don't think I've experienced burnout. What about you?
It's interesting that you gave us this like little info doc on burnout, because now that we like talk about it, it's like, was I just really, really stressed and exhausted, or was it burnout?
Yeah.
But is it one and the same?
Well,
You know, like in my head, I think I've experienced it multiple times. But at this point now I'm like, or was it just stress?
yeah, well, you're right. Because now I'm going back on my answer of, was I burnt out?
Right.
Or was I just stressed? Or
Exhausted, that comes with all of that.
yeah. Well, one of the things that made me think about that too, this fact, I'll just read it because people don't have this piece of paper.
This fact right here.
But it says, researchers say that burnout is made up of 3 different feelings: exhaustion, cynicism, and lack of professional efficacy. The exhaustion is chronic fatigue due to excessive work demands. Cynicism is detached attitude. Many people suffer from burnout begin to feel, and they begin to lose complete interest in their work. And then lack of professional efficacy occurs when someone who has burnout acts less efficient at work and fails to accomplish much of anything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So now I think that if you go through that little checklist, you're like, was I just stressed and exhausted, or was this actual burnout? Because now you think about it personally, in my own experiences of what I thought was burnout, I didn't lose interest in what I was doing. I was just like full-blown exhausted, where I had to literally like check out for a day, rest, and just go through like, okay, do nothing basically, to like, 1, I get migraines, 2, I'm just really exhausted, I get really nauseous.
Yeah.
But now I'm thinking, I'm like, I wasn't burnt out if that's exactly what the checklist is for burnout.
Yeah. Well, I think that the lack of interest in your work will naturally put you in a position where you're not being efficient,
right?
And you're not producing.
Motivated.
Yeah. And when I think about all of the years that I've been working at our company, I do remember there being certain periods of time where there was just going through the motions where I personally felt like looking back, have lost interest in what I'm doing. And I think that that's why it's important to have vision of why you're doing what you're doing. Because when I go back, I found myself getting out of that slump whenever I re-energized and remembered why I have this role. What am I shooting for? What is it that I'm going for? Or even just trying something new, and really making sure that whatever it is that you're doing, you're completely passionate and purposeful about it. I think that helped me get out of that rut. rut.
But I think an important part of that is just discipline. Like you had the discipline to think that way. A lot of people think that they should just constantly feel motivated when really it's like you will lose motivation. You lose motivation all the time when it's like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. It's like, okay, that's where discipline needs to take place of that motivation. Because then you start to think, okay, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? You basically think about your why, and then you become back to, I guess, what you would consider motivated to do what you're doing.
Yeah. I think it goes back to sharpening the saw. Yeah. We talk about that all of the time too, where you're going to go through periods where you're at your peak, you're performing, your attitude, your energy is all there. And then it starts to get a little dull. And that discipline that you're talking about is being aware, like you're saying, on a daily, on a weekly, on a monthly, how am I feeling, and just taking inventory so that you can be aware of what's going on and sharpen the saw.
Right.
But I think these definitions are really cool because even the cynicism, that has a lot to do with your attitude of what you're doing. And so, yeah, this is really cool.
Yeah, it was interesting that it said, and I wasn't surprised by it, but that the U.S. has the highest amounts of burnout, at least what was recorded. Can you think why?
I mean, I think it definitely increased during the pandemic, even though that people, had the option. So they have, during the pandemic, there was a lot of people working remotely. You have the ability to just lay low, right? And then not do anything or like feel very unmotivated to do your work.
Well, and you see all these reels on Instagram and TikTok of like people that work remotely and what they're really doing throughout the day. And I think that that's kind of given a whole like culture of like work from home that people, even I think that we're doing well working from home, kind of see that and go, why do I need to work hard? If everyone else is doing this, I can get by doing that. And I think that's where it also came of the silent quitting or whatever that terminology was.
That's why I was also thinking and bringing that up, because at this point, again, I feel like our culture is completely different. I'm very thankful for that. We've had the ability to keep ourselves accountable in these aspects of like, hey, like we have set our goals, like quarter one goals, quarter two goals, or whatever that might be. And then at the end of the year, we reflect back on these things. So we've at least created some type of system within our culture. And so I look in, now corporate locations where Charles was discussing how like people that are much older than him feel like they're pressuring them to look at their goals because they're like, well, why do I have to look at my goals? I've been here for 15 years. There's nothing I have to do to get better at my job because I just have to do my job. And so that is almost like that rat race feeling of just like doing the work that is very minimal to just get by. And I think that because if they are, I don't know their lives, but if they are experiencing burnout in some sort of way, to me, I feel like if you're not growing, right? If you're not growing, you're going to be quickly burning out because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. And I understand that even to create mastery in whatever craft that you're doing, you have to do that, but having also a passion for what you're doing. Again, whatever that might be. It could be woodworking.
It could be woodworking.
It could be anything at all.
Yeah.
Right? And I was talking I was listening to just a podcast where they were experiencing or talking about burnout and what to do about it. And that's why I also wanted to share with you guys, because to me, we've all been in our business for well over 5+ years, 9+ years almost, right? And I think it's an important topic, especially for us to discuss, because like, why haven't we actually experienced burnout? What were things that we were doing in our daily lives, in our lives in general, to make sure that we were not hitting a point into that exhaustion, cynicism, whatever that might be. And so I wanted to ask y'all if like what that would look like. Again, I like that we were trying to pinpoint, like, were we actually feeling burnt out, or were we just feeling stressed?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's just stress.
Right.
And everyone needs healthy stress.
Right.
Honestly, right? I think that it's important to have some type of challenge just so that we have almost that satisfaction that we're doing something. And if we completed it, we have that satisfaction of finishing it. And when you were talking about asking us, like, have we experienced burnout? Because I can only think within the last 9 years, I'm like, No, I have not. I personally don't think so. I felt stressed. I cried many a times in our work because I think because I will reflect on what I'm doing or making or whatever that might be. And if I don't do my job well, I feel like it's personal. It's not. It's professional. I just have to get better at my craft. So are there some things that you guys feel like you guys are doing to help navigate stress, burnout, whatever that might be on a daily, weekly?
I think stress is inevitable.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just say like, oh, from here on out, I'm never going to be stressed ever again. You can't. There's no way.
No way.
Happen.
Oh, yeah.
You know, people come and go. You run into overload of work, whatever it is.
Something breaks.
You know, something happens. You're going to be stressed. That's like, it's just a matter of like figuring out like, okay, when you do get stressed, what is it that triggers you? What is it that causes that? Because then you start to learn, okay, your next level up, unfortunately, is going to be a different type of stress. And you have to learn from that. So I think that that's what I have done is in the past, like, okay, what was it? What were the like little factors that went into that day where I literally was so exhausted, so stressed out, had a crazy migraine, that let's make sure that doesn't happen again. And that's what I've done. Now it's like, with new chapters in your life, you run into new stresses. So I personally, that's what I've done. I've kind of taken like inventory of what it was that caused it. And then like, let's make sure those factors don't come into play again.
Cool. Well, what is, as far as factors go, say, because you talked about migraines a lot, what triggers your migraines?
I think when I'm doing too much for too long altogether. So when it tends to happen, well, in the past, and I've made sure this doesn't happen again, is obviously I have another company I run, and I make sure during the holidays when it's our busiest time of the year that it's not just me handling all these crazy things. It's like me and my business partner kind of divvy up everything. And then we make sure that like, okay, you got it done. Okay, great. Check off the list. We don't have to freak out about that. And there's obviously a lot of things that goes into running a brand new business. You run into things that you've never ran into, you've never learned about, and that's where you learn. So I think it's just a matter of like divvying up all those responsibilities.
Yeah. I think that's super important. I think that even it brought up a good point. Even if we think that we can take on these loads, we have to set boundaries, like real boundaries. If I cannot do a task, I will tell you now. Well, not now, but maybe tomorrow, right? So instead of overworking your day, say we've already worked 8-9 hours a day, we can literally be like, all right, I'm putting that right at the top of my list to prioritize tomorrow. And then kindly let whomever you're talking with or whatever responsibility that works that you're doing it for, let them know like, hey, this is going to be the top of my list tomorrow. Thank you so much for giving me this task, whatever that might be.
Well, it's back to those like the SMART goals, right? Be specific, be measurable, have a timeline of when you're doing it, because then you're like, okay, I give myself a timeline. Make sure you have a freaking planner too when it comes to if those are the things that stress you out and maybe quote unquote burn you out. But make sure you have it written down so that you can actually hit that stuff. And it's back to that professional efficacy. Like make sure you can actually do what you can and what you said you could.
Yeah.
Because that's what freaks people out. I think people bite off more than they can chew, and that causes a ton of stress.
Yeah. I think that for me, I've had to learn that I can put it's a big rock that has to be put on the calendar, and then it's going to get done,
Right.
as opposed to having it linger in your mind, because for me, that's what stresses me out. It's having a whole
laundry list.
Yeah, a whole laundry list of what it is that I have to do, and I'm just like racing with myself trying to get there. And there's no rest. There's no rest in that at all. And so when I break it off and just it's almost like put everything in its place in the day of when it's going to happen, there's a lot more mental energy that I have to give attention to what is happening in that moment, as opposed to being consumed by everything that has to be done. But I love what you said about taking the time in the day. You said something along those lines, because I had to learn that as well. In the same vein of thought, I guess, wanting to do everything in one day and not just really coming to learn that hey, it is okay for you to not want to get it all done today. It's a weird,
give yourself
it's
grace.
a weird feeling, but you end up more energized when you give yourself the afternoon. As soon as I'm done with work, it's almost like I've been programmed to let me continue. Let me just finish. It's like, no, it takes discipline to even say, nope, I'm putting this away for now and continuing tomorrow. And it's okay. And it just keeps your energy increased so that you can come back the next day a lot more energized as opposed to just dragging because you've spent literally all day working.
Right.
It works against you as opposed to for you. And I've had to learn that so much. And I think that has helped me being okay with doing nothing.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. As we get older, I feel like doing nothing is something that I absolutely crave.
Like you're still being productive.
Yes.
Because you're recharging yourself. I don't know why we've gotten it backwards. I think you have to find your balance with that too. Because it's like, okay, you've been relaxing a little too much.
Right. So you're saying like give yourself grace, but what are some other things that we shouldn't do we should do either way when we're feeling this way, whether it is stressed and exhausted or actually burnt out? What are some things that we should or maybe shouldn't do that we think, oh, that's a good thing to do when I'm burnt out right now?
Well,
so this thing, the article, it talked about technology and how sometimes that doesn't help. It's counterproductive. One of the things that I have found helpful is the whole do not disturb mode on your phone. Yeah. So as far as the do's, I highly recommend to put it on do not disturb for a little bit. And it helps because sometimes when I've even logged off, like checked out. Like this morning.
We never heard back from her at all. Like we're not
friends. It
worked
a little too well.
It did work a little too well. But sometimes I have my Skype on and I still hear the ding ding of the messages. Yeah. And even though I'm not working and that is on, that little notification puts my body in like a work mode. Yeah. And it stresses me out because I'm trying to do my own thing and I have to remind myself to turn it off. And it just feels nice. Yeah, it just feels nice to just have it quiet and you can so tell the difference.
Yeah, I don't even put my volume on if I'm not needing to use it like on my computer. Because the sounds really trigger me.
It does.
And I love that you brought that up because I'll literally just like mute it all the way down or like don't even open it sometimes on my computer because if I'm like working on a project where I need to listen to something or audio or whatever, I'm literally like, I can't have these ding, ding, dings happen. And they're always so random. I'm like, BRB, RRR, lunch, I'm like, is this really necessary? So for me, honestly, I don't do that because I don't enjoy getting those notifications personally. I'm like, do they really need to know I'm in the restroom? She's pooping. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, do they really? Because I am always on my phone, especially for what I'm doing. Right. And I legit, something that you're talking about taking the time, like when I shut down, I literally need to shut down my computer, I have two things. I have my laptop, I have my computer that I work on, my phone, and I'll put my phone on airplane mode. Like even that step further because I don't even want to get any messages at all. And something cool about the Aura Ring now is that it's on airplane mode now, which it didn't used to be. So I never, so it used to, you had to have your phone on
for what? On the
app, you had to have it on, not on airplane mode. You can have it on, just do not disturb or whatever. But now
you're saying it works through the airplane mode.
Yeah, correct. The meditation parts.
I didn't even. Oh, you're right.
Yep.
Yes,
that's like a newer feature because that's something that I hated having on. Like I was like, oh, I could just meditate on myself and or whatever. Like, so I'm like, you know what? I checked it recently and I was like, hey, this is a cool feature that now I can put on airplane mode, but still meditate on the app because I want to track my meditations now. Right. Not that I need to, but because because now it's an app. Yeah, now it's part of the app. I'm like, this is cool. Like I really enjoy it. So I will legit put my phone or put it on airplane mode, give myself 15, 20 minutes and just lie there and legit I call it like my meditation apps because I legit 15, 20 minutes, I'm up. Except last week when I was telling Sandra.
Did you sleep through it?
I sure did. This was last Friday, I'll be very honest. I had gotten home. I'm like, I'm excited to go dancing because I told Sandra I was going to go dancing. Put my phone on airplane mode. This is beside the point. I knocked out for an hour and 29 minutes.
She texted me. She was like, I took a fat nap.
And then because Charles was home and he was up and he was watching or doing something on his phone for work. And then I woke up. Everything is dark because, it's time. The light goes down.
The sun goes down.
Everything is dark in our apartment. And then I wake up and he's just like sitting there. I'm like, did you sleep or did I sleep? He's like, you were knocked out.
Yeah.
And my body was telling me I needed it.
Yeah.
And so for the rest of the weekend, I went dancing.
And you have to pay attention to your body. That just makes me think yesterday after work, I shut down and I was tired. I was so tired. I told myself like, I'm just going to take a little, I'm just going to close my eyes. I knocked out for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah.
That was me on Monday.
Oh, I remember you said that too. I
literally left the office because I was feeling like crap. My head was hurting. It was like a weird headache, but like my full top of my head. It wasn't just like in one section. And I just felt so tired. I was like so drained. And I was like, I'm going to go. I'm not feeling well. And I literally was like, well, it's weird. The Aura told me I literally hit 91 on sleeping.
Crazy.
My phone even congratulated me for sleeping 8 hours. And I was like, liar. Like, what the heck? I was like, all right, I'm feeling tired. So let me lay down. I laid down. I put on a meditation, fell asleep for 3 hours. I was like, what the heck? And then it bumped me up to like 96 sleeping for the day. And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah. I didn't check my score. I need to yesterday after I took a nap, but it helps paying attention to your body. If you need a nap, naps are good.
Give yourself grace.
Yeah.
It's not like every day we are so exhausted in this way.
Right.
Like this is just some things that happen. And like you said, take inventory about it.
Yeah.
And then come back the next day so refreshed, energized, being able to do the work that you told yourself you were going to do the day before. And that's okay.
Yeah. I think that there obviously are great things to help with the stress and the burnout, but I think that there are some other like reflexes or spontaneous reactions to stress, which I think happen more times than we like to think. But like quitting your job because you are stressed out or burnt out, or immediately booking a vacation because you think that that's going to fix it, I think isn't the right way to go about it. Yes, everyone should have vacation. Everyone should go on vacation. But the problem with booking a vacation because you are stressed out or burnt out, I think causes more stress because you'll go on this vacation assuming that you're going to feel so much better. Yeah. You're actually going to cause way more stress on your body because now you're thinking, well, did I leave work with everything completed? Why am I not feeling better? You're focusing so much on the stress that it's only causing more stress. Have you guys ever experienced that? Or are there any other things that you think people kind of jump the gun on?
I think I've experienced both where I do leave and I am constantly thinking about that. So that has happened. And because of that, I have been very intentional in my future endeavors.
Yes.
Future vacations to
Clock
remember
out.
how I felt before. And I've just told myself I don't want to feel that way. Right. So what do I need to do to make sure that next time it's different? So I have done it where I just become more intentional mentally of why I'm going on this trip or doing whatever I'm doing. I think it was maybe even 2 weekends ago, I decided I was going to go to LA and hang out with my friends and just reconnect. But even on my weekends, I'm like, okay, how can I be productive? How can...
100%.
Yeah. And I told myself, no, if you want to make sure that you have that peace of mind, then okay, maybe then work a little bit extra if you want to on Friday, just so that you know, okay, this weekend though, I'm turning everything off and I'm being intentional and being present and being in the moment with my friends. And I had no guilt. I had no stress because I think that I went into it ahead of time, mentally prepping take care of what you need to take care of so that you can have that peace of mind. And then when you're there, you're there. When you're at work, but when you're there, you are with your friends. Right. And I know for a fact that that's going to take practice because
I'm still not there, Sandra.
I'm not. It worked once. I was like, that worked really, really well. Yeah. Can we do that again? Right. So now I'm thinking, okay, this weekend, there's a lot going on. So I'm already thinking ahead of time how, if I need to stack up this week, which is kind of counter to what we're talking about because we're like, no, shut it down. But for me right now, in order to have peace of mind, I'm like, okay, if I need to work or get a little bit extra done so that I can feel that sense of freedom and peace on my weekend, then that's what I'm going to do.
I mean, you were setting your standard. And if that standard is finishing even just a little bit overtime, whatever, do it.
And it helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. It helps.
I think preparation for sure is definitely key in that situation, in all situations for that matter.
And I was reading too, how men and women experience burnout differently. So I wish that we had some of our male counterparts here. Isaac.
He's there.
To just kind of talk about this because it was really talking about how women tend to feel more burnout or more stress just because they have a sense of them having the capacity or having the need to take it all on. So I'm just really curious to do guys are just like, no, I'm checking out, and then they're fully, completely off automatically, or,
It might depend on who or what you do, what your occupation is.
That's true.
Because, for example, like Chris, he's like, when I'm out of the yard, I'm done. Unless they call me for an emergency or something, he has his own work phone, and they call him for that. But that's for work. So it's like, if he's not at work, there's nothing that he's like even thinking about, nothing along those lines. Even if he has to go back to the same job he was at on Friday, on Monday, he's not thinking about that on the weekends. And I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
It definitely depends on the occupation itself.
Yeah. Because it's their own.
Yeah, exactly.
Both studies believe this could be because women feel the pressure to do it all both at work and at home. So for me, one of the things that I thought about too was, for example, with your sister, she's brand new mom, she's your business partner. And I don't know, I'm curious, do you experience her ever feeling like burnt out, especially having that responsibility of work,
dude,
and then at home?
Yeah, dude, okay, so when I wasn't feeling well on Monday, I was like, I wonder if it's just because my weekend was just so go, go, go. And then we had a full day on Sunday at an event, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, if I'm feeling this way, how is she feeling? She has two toddlers at home that are running around. She doesn't have a nanny. She's watching these kids and working.
I know, because we're over here just take a nap, turn your notifications off. And then as I think about it, I'm like, but we don't have any kids ourselves.
Right. So then I was texting my sister and I was like, hey, I'm heading home. I don't feel well. How are you doing?
Yeah.
Thinking maybe we caught something. I don't know. And she was like, dude, I'm just as exhausted. And I was like, go take a nap. And she was like,
are you crazy? Yeah.
But she's kind of like, mom powers are a whole nother level.
I'm sure.
Moms, not that they need to feel that they need to take care of everything. It's that they have to take care of everything. If dad's at work and you're working from home with two little kids, you can't just say wait till your dad gets home to feed you. I need to feed you. I need to put you down for a nap. I need to make sure you're not breaking things. And I just was like, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I'm fine. She goes, I'm just really tired. And I was like, what the fuck? But she always feels tired because she's constantly waking up in the middle of the night because she still has a 1-year-old that kind of sleeps through the night, sometimes doesn't. And that's just her norm. You learn, like we were saying, there's a different stage in your life and you get better at what you're doing. But she's a mom now. So that's just the norm. You just have to go through it. There's no I'm going to peace out for the day.
I know.
Although, obviously, my mom's like, I'll watch the girls, go relax, whatever. So then that day, my mom took them dinner. So she was like, you don't have to worry about dinner. Relax. We'll bathe the girls. We'll put them to bed. And you just relax. And she's like, she was still walking around. I'm good. I don't need to take a nap. And I'm like, you're crazy. But mom powers are just, there's some things about being a mom that I was like, I don't know that I'm ready for this.
I know.
You know, if I'm like so on the go and then it's like you have to put these like little responsibilities in your life now that kind of change all that up.
Yeah.
So the moms out there, it doesn't matter what you do, if you're a stay-at-home mom or if you work, like being a mom is probably the hardest job in the world. It's the craziest thing.
I watch my best friend. She's running her own business. She's working literally 3 jobs. Yeah. She has 3 little ones. And in my head, I just sit there and I wonder how she's doing it. But I think to your point, there is it's every new level has a new challenge. And, you know.
You can't have excuses for why you didn't feed your kids.
It's crazy.
Or like, oh, I took a nap because I wanted to and the kids were running. Like, there is no excuse for a mother to not be the best person that they can be. I don't know. It's insane.
It's insane.
I know. Like as you talk about this, I'm thinking.
I'm like getting stressed out thinking about it.
I love moms. I love parents in general. Parents are the best.
They don't get enough credit for what they do. It's insane.
Yeah,
Mom, if you're watching this, we love you. Dad, if you're watching this, hello.
Yeah. So, what do you think are other reasons for the U.S. being the highest in burnout rate? Even prior to COVID, because it's not like this just happened for COVID.
I mean, I know that you mentioned the whole COVID. Well, I think maybe because of COVID, you know, the numbers increased. But if we're going by this definition, you know, exhaustion. I think about, I don't know, how tired can you be working from home in a sense? I don't know, because
you don't have to get up and get ready.
You don't fully, there's certain things that are eliminated, you know.
Like you don't have to prep your lunch.
Everything.
Don't have to wake up early to get ready.
Yeah, you have a little bit more extra time. So, and who knows? Maybe I'm completely wrong in that thought, but that's where my mind went. Like, well, how tired? I know, I'm sure. Especially the moms out there. What do you mean? I can't be tired working at home. I have all these little ones. That's true. But I thought about that. It's like, okay, how exhausted are you really working at home? So when I think about burnout, I think that it has to have, according to this, the 3 components.
But imagine this.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying. Because as far as, you know how you feel, honestly, granted, we want to do nothing, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But imagine how you feel like when you are a potato on the couch.
Okay.
You're tired of being tired.
You know what I mean? Like that people do experience that. And so if they're doing it over and over and over on a daily because they are working remotely.
It's more like lethargic. They're just
like walking around
like
through
I'm doing
life.
The same thing. I'm stressed out. I'm doing the same
and so
thing.
I can see that happening even more when they're at home, when no one's watching, right? So when you're at the office, you have to put your A game on or whatever. And when you're at home, you, like you said, you don't have to prep for anything except just be there. And so that's when I was bringing up the point of like during the pandemic, people were able to hide away from it, like hide from the fact that they're in front of their boss or whatever that might be, you know? So I was only just bringing it up in that point because I could only had imagined if people were not taking the time to be productive. Like I love rolling out of bed, making my coffee, drinking my coffee in my office, my little home office, really to enjoy it rather than like, I need to go rushing, like get my stuff, get my makeup on, looking good, you know? So I enjoy it. That's why I enjoy having that work-life balance or work from home balance, Monday, Tuesday, or Monday, whatever we do. I enjoy it. I'm like, what the hell Thursday, Friday do now? Do you come here Thursdays?
No, I'm saying the days off, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, not off, working from home. We
are
not stressed out.
We're not stressed at all.
But do you think the like American work culture, like the hustle culture, if you will, has anything to do with it?
100%.
Oh yeah.
Because then have you ever, so I think it's an amazing thing to go travel around the world.
Like Europe and
you get
experience
anywhere.
that.
It doesn't matter who you talk to, but you get to talk to people that are from there. And from my experience, at least, I've had really good conversations with people, not just about like, oh, how pretty your country is, but just like legalities. Like, how does work go? What does maternity leave look like here?
Mm-hmm.
What's vacation like here?
Do you guys get holiday?
Yeah, they have holidays, you know, that completely you're off.
Yes.
No one's working.
Mm-hmm.
Nap times.
Nap times.
Official nap times.
Yeah.
And for example, we went to Norway in August, and we were talking to one of Chris's cousins that just gave birth to her first son. And we were just asking because obviously Chris's sister is pregnant. And so she just was like, oh, like, what's maternity like here? Well, don't quote me on the timeline because now I'm not really clear on it, but it was something ridiculous. It was like, I get a good 8 months and I can split it up within his first year of birth.
Oh, wow.
And my husband also gets the same thing. And so what they did is they took off a couple months in the beginning, obviously. And then she went to work because she was like, no, we all work here. It's not like a stay-at-home mom is not a thing there.
Yeah.
And she was like, but in January, we're going to Thailand for a month. Basically for vacation, but it's considered under my maternity leave. And cool. She gets paid for all of that. So they went and they traveled for a whole month in Thailand and took the little one. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that was something because especially, like, obviously none of us have kids. Mm-hmm. But once you do, and what I've experienced with, like, my sister and my friends that are giving birth, that you want to be there for those early moments, you know, when you're so attached to them. They're yours. You know, you've never had this in your life before. And it just sucks that you're kind of forced to go back after 8 weeks, which I think could also cause some stress. But then at the same time, it's like, well, we need the money, right?
Yeah.
More times than not. So I think that, like, traveling and finding all those things out, you realize why people are the way that they are here.
Yeah. That's
even
crazy.
when I went to Bali, I was chatting with people. I think she was from Australia or somewhere. And she was just talking about how she was there for a month, literally a month. And I was just like, wow, I was amazed at how you would be able to take so much time off. Like, I thought 10 days was a long time. Like, it felt like, honestly, forever. It really felt like a long period of time in my life where I was not doing anything, but it was because I was prepping for a gala. Anyways, long story short, just chatting with her and like how in their culture they do have these pieces where they get to travel,
but
and
it's encouraged.
It's encouraged.
Yeah.
In America, we need to step it up.
No, I think that too because I have an upcoming trip to Mexico and my parents are going for 2 weeks, and I was like, no, only 1 week, just 1 week.
And you're like, I can wrap my head around 1 week.
Yeah, but there's already an itch to almost come
go
back.
2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but just because if we're talking about culturally and how we experience these things, to your point about like, well, why is our country, or what do we think that it has a lot to do with the hustle mentality? And I think it does. I mean, I
think you're right.
I don't know. Because I'm a week is too much.
I mean, I'm really thinking about, like, I really do love what I do.
Yeah,
you know, I love all aspects of what I do, even though it feels like it can be hard in a way where I have to be on the entire time. But I feel like for myself, I will take time. I will take time, not only for work, but doing things I absolutely freaking love, like dancing,
yeah,
and snowboarding.
Yeah,
I love it so much.
So far we have take naps, turn off your notifications, do things that you love.
I think be more self-aware of what causes your stress or your burnout. I think that is what I really picked up on what you were saying is just like taking inventory of what it is that is causing this. Because then if you are self-aware about that, then it's not going to happen again. Knock on wood.
Setting those boundaries is important, I think.
Yeah. And I think it's a lot of mentality too, because there are certain things that you can be filling your mind with about, oh, I have to do this, or so-and-so is probably, you start to assume certain things that cause more stress that could lead you to burnout that are probably not even a thing, and, that are really not an issue. And so I think that the mentality piece is big, and then just getting clarity and really using your team and working as a team. I think that helps a lot too, is just being able to recognize who are the people around you that are there for you and that you are there for. I think that is important too, to eliminate the possibility of burnout, because we, if we're coexisting in this workplace, there's a reason why we're working together. And I think that if there is an imbalance with somebody taking more than they should, as opposed to either delegating or empowering somebody else to do it, you're gonna burn out. The whole purpose of teamwork is for it to be
a team.
And let's say you don't have a team. What do you do?
Well, it goes back to being capable.
Not yet.
How we were talking about it. If you're not capable, then I think that at that point you do have to talk about it with, I want to say your leadership team, but
your manager, whoever it is that's higher up, maybe.
Yeah, but if that, or if you are literally solo, it goes back to getting clarity on what is important and what is not. Because again, you could be filling up your mind with things that have to get done, or things that you could be majoring on minors.
Yep.
That kind of mentality is what I'm talking about. Because once you do lay it out and get clarity on this is actually what's important and what deserves my time, you're not going to be, spending more of your time on that entire list, because now the list has really shrunk to what is actually important. And I think that eliminates stress. It eliminates you being burnt out, because you're not making up stories or thoughts of what is important. That's really not.
Right. You kind of don't know where to start. If you have this giant list of things and you don't know your priorities, you kind of are like, where do I start? And you might start on something
goes back
that has
to your why.
Right.
So when solo, I think and it helps to see it on paper. That's a thing.
Some people don't, but
I know.
Love it.
Yeah. And I think getting into the practice of actually putting it on paper helps you to actually see
and
highlight and cross things out. So even if you're not that kind of person, I challenge you to actually write it out, because it's easier to be able to eliminate and see on paper what is actually going on.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, now we got to implement some things around the office.
Yeah. Take our little breaks. Water sips, water chugs, daily walks around the office.
Yeah.
We'll do something fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not just about the physical stuff. It's also about like what you ingest. Make sure you're drinking water. Make sure you're eating well. Because that can only stress you out more. It also was saying that don't work out too much. If you solely rely on working out to like de-stress yourself, then you start to have that, like, it's weird to say unhealthy relationship with exercising.
But yeah.
But it's kind of like drinking. Like people that grab something to drink when they're stressed out, it's an unhealthy relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the same thing. Like don't just go work out just because you feel that you're going to de-stress, because at the end of the day, your tolerance for that is actually going to go away. And then you're actually going to be stressed out at the gym. And that's like, that used to be your safe space. So another point.
I love that.